Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Apex Online Racing for round number 17 of Season 20 here in the High Energy F1 League. Welcome to the Sochi Autodrome for the Russian Grand Prix. Who will be going for gold tonight and who will find their flame getting extinguished at the home of the 2014 Olympic Games? My name is Luke Etheridge, and alongside me once again in the commentary box is Kieran McGinley. Kieran, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, actually. Thank you very much. Yes, we're here at the place that hosted the Olympics all those years ago. I love the flame puns, gotta say. Hopefully those puns don't get extinguished by me later on tonight. But yes, we are here at Sochi Autodrome, a place and a track that has a reputation, but not necessarily for the reasons you would think. It is a fast-flowing track where tyre wear doesn't seem to be too much of an issue. However, there's plenty of medium speed corners, and if medium speed corners teach us anything, it's that they're very difficult to make an overtake happen. That being said, we come here in good stead. I mean, Dobby is at the head of the table, 60 plus points ahead of his nearest rival, so it really is opening up for Dobby. He'll be hoping to put some laps down and get the maximum points possible to ever extend his lead over Blizzard. But it's great to be alongside you, Luke, and hopefully we're in for a cracker.
Yes, hopefully we are. We'll go through the results of the last race for Singapore Grand Prix, which, well, pretty much had everything. It started off in full wet conditions, we went to intermediates, we went to dries. By the time we got to the end of the race, you could argue we were almost back to full wet conditions again. In fact, I think it was starting to dry out once more. It was Dommy who took the victory from pole position. A second place for Aero and a third place for Blizzard means that Dommy, the Italian, now has a 63-point lead over Blizzard in the championship, and with only 6 races to go, that is going to be quite a big lead for the Williams driver to try and build his way up at the moment. But qualifying is underway, 18 minutes of qualifying, and then of course 27 laps in the race. So let's go on board with Sam Gamer for a lap around this circuit. You can see the start finish line is very early on in the straight. You're flat out through turn 1, and it is one of the shortest ones to turn 1, but one of the longest ones to the first braking zone. As you're flat through turn 1 and then head to the very awkward turn 2. Can cause quite a lot of problems for drivers there, that almost chicane-like corner, and then the long turn 3. Scene of a horrendous crash for Roman Grosjean in the 2015 Russian Grand Prix, all the way through here, and you will see cars battling as they now head to the 90-degree right-hander at turn 4. Going up the gears here, coming towards the end of sector 1 into turn 5. It's very easy to run wide on this circuit and pick up a penalty, as we actually see there Sam Gamer getting a bit sideways, quick through 6 and 7. 7 is a bit of a deceptive corner. You can take it a lot faster than you dare. Be careful of that inside curve at turn 8, that it doesn't throw you off towards the barrier. And then as he heads now through 9 and 10 to get towards the end of the second sector and to the second DRS zone on this circuit. You're not going to see lots of overtaking though through 12 and 13. It is very difficult indeed at this part of the circuit. Heavy on the brakes there from Sam Gamer, keeping it nice and steady. And then this final sector, very twisty, very difficult. Few off-camber corners as well, just making it that bit harder to overtake as he now comes through 15 and 16. He's kept it clean enough so far to get a valid lap in, and that could be all important around here. Expect to see a few track limit penalties around the final few corners, flat on the throttle, across the line. And he's actually, I think, managed to set a time and invalidate it at the identical point there as he's crossed the finish line. A 129.6, but that didn't count. Aero continuing his good form from last week with a 129.580. He said afterwards he wanted to get his first win. Who knows, maybe tonight could be the night.
Maybe tonight could be the night, absolutely, as we see here. Aero obviously getting his way to the top of the table, 29.5, and yeah, a bit of a bizarre one. Sam Gamer obviously getting that time on the board, but he did it whilst I was off the track. So that meant when he rejoined the track, it realised, or the in-game stewards realised that he actually left the track, so then abandoned the time, but also set the fastest lap. Yeah, bit of a confusing one. What's more important, though, is that the lap did not count, so he will have to go again on that one. Johan currently on a lap, but he now makes his way in towards the pit lane, having invalidated his previous attempt. Obviously, surfaced there just under the 90-second barrier, 1:29.997. Sam Gamer still out there on a lap. CRG Gamer is now making his way on towards the final couple of corners. Obviously, he's invalidated his first attempt. He's on a medium set of tyres, though, so he will be encouraged to try and go again as he crosses the line to start a brand new flying lap. Deso comes back into the pit lane, having abandoned his lap time. And yes, turn 1 and turn 2. I mean, I can't really think of much more of an awkward set of corners, especially on lap number 1. Now, if you've done My Team races, if you've done lobbies, if you've done league races, you will know how dangerous of a mix those turns 1 and 2 really are when it comes down to the first lap. Keep your head down, keep your nose clean, and you're in for a good result.
Yes, definitely. Turn 2, probably on the F1 calendar, one of the most awkward corners that exists. We heard a lot of talk this year, obviously, about the bollards, as there is every year, and a certain way you're supposed to go around turn 2 to avoid getting a penalty. And every year it seems there's a conversation about that, and they seem to wipe them out. But it's sort of a feature of the track. Because of the high speed into that corner, you need that runoff area, but you do get a feeling, could they maybe change it ever so slightly? Maybe make it a bit similar to what they've done at the Bahrain International Circuit with turns 1 and 2, just to make it a bit less, well, awkward.
I mean, you could have conversations all day long, but unless they actually work, you're back to where you started. So it's worth trying a few different things. I mean, there's a system that works right now. You've got to be to the left-hand side of the orange bollard, the orange arrows, if you like. But it gets you right up and close and personal with the wall on the left-hand side. So it's very easy to try and speed through there, take as much speed through there as possible to try and rejoin, but then you clip that left-hand wall. So it's almost like a deterrent to try and make sure you don't speed your way through. Gamer, meanwhile, going for one more attempt, I would say, on those medium tyres, and by the looks of it, I don't think he's going to commit to starting on these, because he's already put, this is his third lap, and this is his third flying lap, I should say, on these sets of medium tyres, so that won't go for him during the race. Even if the tyre wear here, we're looking at a one stop, possibly soft to medium or medium to softs. You know, the tyre wear here isn't that huge, considering, big slide there for Gamer as he cuts turn 4 there. Considering how many mid-speed corners there are, you'd think this is a track that would really be aggressive on the tyre wear, but actually because of the surface itself, it doesn't actually pose too much of a challenge for these tyres. So they'll be hoping to go as aggressive as possible, these drivers, in terms of a one-stop strategy.
Yeah, it is a pretty low grip surface, and you can see that from Gamer at the moment. He is really struggling to find a lot of grip. It looks as though that Red Bull is rotating a bit too easily, a bit like the actual 2020 Red Bull, you could say. So he's invalidated his lap time. We won't be seeing any more times from him. I've got to agree, you don't want to start this race on an older set of medium tyres, otherwise you're really ruining that opportunity. Everyone who sets a lap on the dry tyres, and I'm saying the dry tyres for a reason, will be starting on that set of tyres. So we've got to suggest by the fact that Gamer's going for the mediums that it is going to be a dry start to the race at least. Let's see what Johan can do then in the Ferrari. He went for a gamble last week. Can't say I really blame him. If it paid off, he would have got himself onto a podium and it would have been his first on the season. In the end, though, just didn't quite work out. Those wet tyres weren't fast enough to make up the margin he'd lost in the pits, and then by the end of the race, they were starting to overheat.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see a couple of drivers here trying to go for fast laps. Obviously now Johan making his way all the way through now in towards the second sector, trying to hook the car up, and looks like he's gone purple so far through that first sector as he now makes his way through that sort of little kink to the right. Then it's a full right hand corner, then trying to use the curve on the outside as well to make sure he opens up that track as much as possible. Bit off camber this corner, you go over a slight crest, you don't actually feel it, you don't actually see it going over on board there, but there is that little bit of a crest there where if you take too much power through, if you're too kind, if you're too aggressive on the throttle, I should say, you can spin up those rear tyres. As now we head in towards the fast left before the braking zone into the right-hander, where we saw Carlos Sainz have a huge crash a couple of years ago there. Very scary incident for him, managing to walk away from the incident. Now making our way into this 90-degree zone now, as you try and make sure the car has enough grip. Now heading our way through in towards turn 16. Onwards we go towards 17 and 18. Trying to hook the car up for these last couple of 90-degree corners. A bit of a lock up on the front right. Shouldn't matter too much. 30.2 from Johan, which puts him as third fastest. Sam Gamer, meanwhile, making his way now in towards the third sector. He's now going through turn 14. Onwards we go towards the slight chicane here of 15 and 16 as he tries to keep that car hooked up and obviously close to using the usable energy he can on this hot lap mode, of course. Now in towards the final corner, 17, and then through turn 18, trying to make sure the car bites in, and this time he does get a lap across the line, and this time it does count. 29.3 from Sam Gamer, and that's the fastest lap so far.
Yeah, and that's sort of been a feature of Sam Gamer's season, to be honest. Quite often he's up there in qualifying, and then for whatever reason just doesn't seem to have the same pace in the race, and sometimes you sort of get, I don't want to say it because it sounds a bit cruel, sometimes you almost get a sort of truly train behind him. All of a sudden, he has such good pace in the qualifying, he just seems to struggle a bit more in the race and manages to pick up quite a few penalties, and that has cost him points on occasion this season. He is currently, though, provisional pole position with 7 minutes 41 seconds remaining. Aero has invalidated his lap with a 129.5. Surface is third, Johan fourth, Domi and Blizzard 5th and 6th at the moment, and it'll be very interesting indeed if we get the two championship protagonists starting near each other. And for Blizzard, he's got to beat Domi tonight. It's really getting beyond the point of no return for him. I think mathematically Domi can get away with just getting podiums in every race, and as long as Blizzard wins and doesn't get the fastest lap in every race, that'd be enough for the Italian.
Yeah, it will, and that is a sort of test against complacency. You've got to keep up those performances because it's not over until it's mathematically impossible. I mean, we were talking to Blizzard last week. He says, you know, he's up for the challenge, but it is a huge challenge. He's not sure if he's going to be able to make this one count, but he's here to win. He wants to win the championship, but he's got a lot of points to make up, and it is going to be a difficult task for him. However, I know he's up to the task. The thing is now, can he pull it off? Domi has been in great form all season long, and he doesn't look like slipping out of form anytime soon.
No, definitely not. I mean, if we just go through Domi's record at the moment, he's been 16 out races that we've had. So every race so far this season, 11 podiums. 11 podiums from them races. And it's just his record has been pretty much since the first couple of races. He's not retired from a race yet. He's scored points in every race since China. He had a bit of a inconsistent start. First in Australia, 16th in Bahrain, 3rd in Vietnam, 14th in China. Since then, his lowest finish has been 6th place in Belgium, where of course there was that safety car which sort of ruined his strategy, and 4 out of the last 5 races he's finished in the top 2. That is some record, and that is going to win you a lot of titles, no matter who you're up against.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, isn't it? I mean, 5 wins this season so far for Domi, and compare that to Blizzard, he's had 4, but the main difference where Blizzard comes in is he has been consistently in the points when he's finished. However, you've got 4 DNFs for Blizzard across the season. DNF at Spain, Baku, Canada and Belgium, all really being a huge reason why he's so far behind as Surface now starts a flying lap as he makes his way across the line in the Renault to start a brand new flying lap. So too is Deso, who makes his way in towards turns 2 and 3 there. But now with Surface down towards turn 2, obviously braking hard, trying to make sure you get the car hooked up there. But that probably is a huge difference. I mean, with Blizzard, if he got those 4 positions where he didn't finish the race and got good point scoring positions, I mean, he'd be well under 50 points behind. It all just depends. And, you know, what Blizzard would really need, you never want to wish ill of your rivals, but the only real chance he's got of getting back into this championship hunt is if Domi finds the wall, or if he finds a way to not finish these races. Really, that's the biggest chance Blizzard has. And when it's not in your hands, the championship, when it's not in your hands to change this championship, that is when you can really start to lose the ground.
Yes, definitely. I mean, all Domi's got to do is make sure he's following Blizzard home. Doesn't need to go for those risky moves, whereas Blizzard really hasn't got any choice at the moment. He's got to go for the moves. And around this circuit, the easiest chances, you could say, arguably say the only chances, are into the DRS zones at turn 2 and at turn 13 as well, and possibly into turn 4 if you manage to hang it off around the outside of 3. You do see a few drivers try that move with varying degrees of success. Surface coming around the final few corners now. Desso's got up his third on a 129.601, so it's looking good for Alfa Romeo. At this moment in time, surface across the line, 7 thousandths of a second slower than Sam Gamer. A great lap from him at the moment. And he's starting to show some good form of late. Got a podium, of course, at Italy. He's maybe a bit of a dark horse if he has a good qualifying here, and a few of those drivers that are choosing to start further back, if things don't go well for them, might get a very different podium here.
I mean, we really could. I mean, Surface, as you say, has been in that sort of getting into that form, especially recently. However, it's all going to be, can he keep that performance up? Can he keep on going with the pace there? But at the moment, front row of the grid so far, but we are yet to see competitive lap times from Dommy and Blizzard. Waiting to see how far they get up the table. But at the moment, though, Sam Gamer is leading the way as Surface invalidates what will be an in-lap. I can't expect him to do 2 laps on those soft tyres. Desso and Johan there, 4th and 5th, with Aero being pretty much straight in the middle of them in the Racing Point car, 129.5, and we're waiting to see those competitive lap times from Dommy, Blizzard, Dario and Gamer there to see where they can get themselves up the table. Less than 3 minutes to go, and Sam Gamer is on provisional pole position by 7 thousandths of a second.
Yes, and it looks like he's improving ever so slightly through Sector 1, and again through Sector 2, nearly a 10th up on his personal best. We've had a question from Jess, our Xbox commentator. You can catch her and the PC League as well at 8 p.m. Probably, for our sake, maybe just skip the first few minutes of qualifying and watch the end of this race, because I'm sure it's going to be a belter. Everyone will have to start on the tyres they start on, as long as they've set their fastest qualifying time on a set of dry tyres. I mean, it would put the drivers off setting a time on the intermediates if they had to start the race on them, but unfortunately, the rules don't work like that. And another great lap from Sam Gamer, 129.262. And with quite a few of the others in the pits, they seem to be leaving it pretty late, whether Sam, he's decided to go when there's free air, and that's sometimes not the worst tactic. You lose a bit of pace because of the track evolution, but you can ensure that you're not going to get held up by any traffic on an outlap or an inlap.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you can do that, if you can get yourself that free air, it obviously allows you to pretty much have the track to yourself. The only thing you don't get is the potential tow, mainly down through turn 11. I say it's turn 11, but it's quite a full throttle turn 11, isn't it, to the right. It's basically a straight if you take away the amount of G-forces there are there, so that's why it's classified as a corner. But the toe down there is going to be especially important, and it's a really tough braking zone in towards turn 12, and just as you get in towards the third sector of the track, you have to think about braking, and that encourages that trail braking. Expect to see at least one driver be caught out by that tricky braking zone. So easy to lock a brake going up through there, and so easy to find the wall on that occasion as well. I'm riding aboard with Sam Gamer, and he's taking it very cautiously all the way through just to make sure he keeps those tyres in check. Of course, a low tyre wear circuit that Sochi is, you still do not want to be in a position where you can you put too much wear into the tyres, because every percentage matters, as Sam Gamer here decides to abandon a lap time. So he seems pretty comfortable there. Surface retires from the session. Aero across the line to start a new flying lap. Desso, well, he's only got 30 seconds on the clock. He's cutting it fine about starting a lap time here. Johan easily will start a lap time as he makes his way around the final quarter. Onwards then towards the start-finish line. The Ferrari driver will be able to start a lap here. But yeah, Desso cutting it very fine here. He's got 4 corners to negotiate. He's going to try and get there as quickly as possible now. Just 12 seconds on the clock. He should now be able to get a lap time on the board, although if he's slowing up this much, still going to cut it very fine. Now coming around the final corner with seconds to spare. Does he get the clock? Yes, he does. Wow, talk about leaving it as late as you possibly can. That was some timing from Desso there. So in theory, he should be able to get the ideal track. So watch out for his lap time. See if he can get himself up the order.
I think he's been practicing that. He was just teasing us, although I was on board with him. He had to take a few liberal interpretations of the track limits through some of them lines. Checkered flag, though, is out at the moment, and Aero, he's improving. He's 1.5 tenths up at this moment in time, so can he maybe get himself onto the front row? Surface, of course, only deciding to do 2 runs, and I've got to agree with you with what you said about Sam Gamer. He was taking it easy, and of course, by qualifying earlier, he ensures the AI doesn't do a in-lap for him, because they tend to be a bit rougher than a human at taking these tyres around the circuit on an in-lap. Aero comes across the line, gets a big slide. Still just good enough to get second place. Dezo, he must have been validated somewhere, so he has retired from the session. Johan now, he's going to be one of the last drivers to come across the line in the Ferrari. Can he get himself up onto the front 2 rows of the grid? No, he stays in 5th position for now. Gamer will be the final driver across the line. But it is a first pole position of the season then for Sam Gamer. Showed some pretty good pace there. Now we'll get to see if he can do it in the race though.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're about to see a very, very strange leaderboard here with drivers setting times on intermediate lap times. We'll get onto that in just a second. But Sam Gamer does get his first pole position of the season. Aero second with Surface in third. Deso in fourth. Johan then finishing in 5th place. Dobby in 6th with Blizzard in 7th. Dario in 8th. And Gamer there in 9th place. He didn't set a lap time in that session. Now, it's a little bit of an awkward one because you see drivers on intermediate lap times, but there is a strategy. There is a strategy in the madness there. They're trying to get track position ahead of each other, but the fact that they've set their time on a wet weather tyre means they get a free choice of tyre whenever they get onto the grid, assuming that it is a dry race, which if it is a dry race, and they put them intermediates on, I can only assume it'll be a dry race. But they get a free choice of brand new, fresh tyres. So a bit of method in the madness there. The drivers ahead of them will have to start on worn, soft tyres, but they can choose whatever tyre they like and try and get track position ahead of them. And it looks like Dommy just out-qualified Blizzard by a couple of tenths of a second. So as we head away in towards the showdown or the Russian Grand Prix very, very soon, I'm looking forward to seeing how Dommy, Blizzard, Sam Gamer and Dario all try and make their way through the field. It's not an easy place to overtake here at Sochi, but that won't stop these drivers from trying.
Yes, definitely. One thing that is very interesting, and I was thinking of this during the session, and Jess has just mentioned it. I think it's in the AOR rules that you're not supposed to do that in qualifying. And if I remember when I was in F2 earlier this season, I think a couple of drivers got a few penalty points for doing that. Now, it's only like 5 penalty points. It's not the be-all and end-all, unless you've already accumulated a few throughout the season. Now, I don't think either of our championship protagonists have done anything to really incur the wrath of the stewards, but if they had, those 5 points could just be enough to shove you towards a qualifying ban. So we'll have to wait and see if anyone does, of course, take them to the stewards. And there's no surprise that those starting 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th have gone for the medium tyres. So they'll be hoping that they can A, keep it nice and clean early on, and B, maybe just use that DRS to try and stay in contact with those ahead of them.
Yeah, and if they are called to the stewards by that, as you say, Luke, if they haven't got any penalty points before, they'll take that slap on the wrist. However, if they get involved in an instance later on, well, they're going to have those 5 penalty points next to their name. That is, of course, if they are punished by the stewards, of course. That is up to them to decide. But yes, we've got Sam Gamer on pole position. His first pole position for the Canadian as he now tries to lead the field all the way through, warming up those tyres, warming up those brakes as much as possible, especially those brakes. They will have ample time to cool down by the time you need them down towards turn 2. Getting the start, getting the launch off the grid spot is going to be critical here. You need as much traction as you possibly can because going through turn 1 and then coming up towards turn 2, you don't really want to be running side by side with another car as we just, well, on board my camera, I'm not sure if Luke saw it, but you saw a predicted pit stop strategy where drivers are pitting in around about lap 8, lap 10 to put on a brand new set of tyre, but it's pretty much split evenly. Both mediums and hards, according to our graphic, will get you to the end of the race. So to the drivers, that means it's the medium tyre that will get you to the end.
Yes, certainly. I'd be expecting around about lap 8 or 9 for those on the soft tyres. Them on the mediums, maybe lap 16 or 17 before they come in for a set of soft. So watch out for one of those bottom 4 to be setting the fastest lap at the race and possibly getting that bonus point as long as they get to the end of the race, of course. It looks like it's going to be beautiful sunshine for the Russian Grand Prix, and Sam Gamer's got his first pole position at a track you could arguably say is one of the worst tracks to be starting on pole position. There's always a possibility of someone getting in your slipstream, a bit like we'll see in Mexico in a couple of weeks' time on the run down to the first braking zone, and that can make things very spicy indeed. The other gamer, we've got a grid bookmarked by gamers at the moment. He comes into position, CRG Gamer in 9th place on the medium tyres. Can he get his way up through the field? The lights are coming on now here at Russia. We've got 5 lights. And we are underway. Now, what are the starts like? It looks like a pretty decent start from Sam Gamer on pole position. He's had a perfect start. Aero struggling a bit on the dirty side of the grid. His Shazoo teammate Surface is trying to go alongside him here. On the run down towards turn 2, you've got Deso and Johan moving across in the background as well. But it is Sam Gamer in the lead. Aero just hanging on to second place at the moment. Surface has had to take evasive action going over the curb. Johan bumping up ahead of Deso, and Blizzard has managed to work his way past Domi at the moment. And Blizzard, in fact, looks as though he's challenging Deso in the Alfa Romeo all the way around the outside at turn 4. That'd be a very brave move indeed, but it looks like he's almost pulled it off. Deso is going to have the inside line though for the next corner, and he gets ahead still with those extra grip on the tyres. Again though, Blizzard trying to get underneath him. These two are going to be battling tooth and nail for quite a bit of contact between the two of them. I think that's the Alfa Romeo driver just getting ahead, but he's slightly fallen off those around him. Perfect start from Sam Gamer though, still in the lead. Everyone through the first few corners plainly, which is exactly what we wanted to see at this moment in time. Sam Gamer leading, Aero in second, Surface, Johan, Deso, Blizzard, Domi now trying to get in the slipstream of Blizzard. Didn't quite get the best start, perhaps that dirty side of the grid just costing him ever so slightly in these early stages, a bit like what we almost saw with Aero, who did very well to defend that position. In the end, we're nearly through lap 1, everyone has got through cleanly, no change in the top 3 drivers. It is still Sam Gamer, Aero and Surface. Might be crucial for Blizzard though that he's managed to get his way ahead of Domi.
Yeah, it was a nice start from Blizzard as well. He managed to get up the inside in towards turn 2, made his move on Domi and made it look pretty easy, although I'm going to say that Domi may not be fighting tooth and nail for that position. He knows what the championship score is. Riding on board with Aero then, as he's going to challenge Sam Gamer for the lead, surely not with a move down in towards turn 2. No, he thinks better of it and stays behind the Alfa Romeo for now, but now making our way through turns 2 and now onwards towards that long looping left-hander that is turn 3 that really tests the front right-hand tyre for the limits of grip that it has, but Aero managing to hold on through there. Surface then will follow him through in third, Johan then in fourth, as we now file our way now once again in towards turn number 5 and in towards sector 2 as the leaderboard gets a little bit of a shuffle there, as DRS of course is not active just yet. We are still on the second lap of this race, but Sam Gamer leads, then Aero second, Surface in third with Johan in fourth, Deso in fifth. But you have to say those soft tyre runners aren't going too far up the road from the medium tyre runners. All the medium tyres will really have to do is stay within DRS of those soft tyre runners. They've got a good chance of making those medium tyres work throughout this race, but Sam Gamer, all he has to do is push as hard as he possibly can to try and get away, because he's the only one in this field right now, according to those timing shoes, who won't have DRS on the next lap.
Yeah, which is obviously one of the bad points of being in the lead of the race. You'll always take track position, of course. You've got to make sure he's got plenty of ERS as well to possibly defend with, but you can see here Aero is on 80-something% at the moment, as Sam Gamer already gets a bit of a twitch on. Can't afford that too much. You'll get away with it through the penultimate corner, but not through the final corner. He had a pretty good exit, but the detection point is just after the start-finish line, so Aero has got the DRS here on the run down towards turn 2, and there's not really a lot Sam Gamer can do about it at this moment in time. He's just got to let the racing point take the lead of the race. I think crucially, further behind though, I think Blizzard just about dropped outside of DRS range then, so like you said, he needs to try and stay within a second of Deso. If he does that, he'll be dragged along ever so slightly. If he doesn't, there's still a chance for some of these soft runners that they might be able to pull enough a bit of a gap in these early stages. Obviously when they come into the pits they'll gain a bit of time on everyone else, but they've got to make sure that they're about 10 seconds ahead after the medium runners coming and put the softs on, because you would expect them to really catch up quickly at the end of the race.
Yeah, you would, and with the sort of tyre wear here, you don't expect those tyres to go off sooner than later, because they're able to hold that little bit of life in the tyres for a little bit longer. Blizzard then picking up a 3-second time penalty in this race. Of course, that will be added to the end of his race, so that's only after 3 laps as well, so he's got to be careful. Russia, one of those tracks that really does penalise you for track limits if you are really not taking liberties with them. But riding on board with Sam Gamer, a little bit of opposite lock there as he headed through turn 15, where the rear end was just carrying a little bit too much speed through. Those rear tyres wanting to have a little bit of a spin up of their own. But as we make our way through the final corner, Aero then just slightly missing the apex of the final corner. No matter, he still sets the fast lap of this race so far, 34.050, as Sam Gamer now has a little bit of DRS onwards towards turn 2, but I don't think it's going to be too close or close enough to get a move down onto the race leader. Deso then looking really temptingly at Johan, just trying to break the sort of dirty air, that little bit of air that flows from the car behind, obviously, or sort of the car ahead is amazingly hot. So you've got to remember that the dirty air here can really affect these cars in these medium speed corners. That's when drivers will be relying on their cars to give them the grip that they need, because if the cars get too hot and if they get into the dirty air too much, then they might find through some of these medium speed corners that they won't simply have enough grip to take it at the speed they normally would.
Yes, and not only that as well, engines possibly overheating, so if you wanted to use rich mix, you're not getting the same amount of power from the engine. Tyres overheating, and once these Pirellis start overheating and you reach a certain point, it's a vicious circle. You slide the tyres, they overheat a bit more, if you lose a bit more grip, you just start sliding, and you really have to slow down to get them into a cool temperature range. Sam Gamer still all over the back of Aero at the moment. The Racing Point driver just doing enough at this moment in time just to stay far enough away. Part of that is probably down to the dirty air. We've got this sort of awkward off-camber 15 and 16 at the end of the lap. That is really awkward for the car behind, and you can see Sam Gamer has actually lost a lot of time in all of that. He was about 3 tenths behind. He's ran off the track, done the right thing though to lift off ever so slightly just to avoid getting a warning. I think that's something he's going to be very wary of in this race. Don't want to pick up too many penalties in case you get a late safety car, or in case the field is just as close as it is at the moment. Further down towards the back of the field, Domi has the DRS on Blizzard at the moment, who's just about got it off of Deso. And I think Domi's just doing the sensible thing at the moment, staying in contact. He knows Blizzard's got a penalty. You've got to say, with how close the field is, wouldn't be too surprising if Domi's definitely going to be challenging for the win at the end.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right now, championship standings, if it were to finish like this race, 63-point gap would come down to 61. So that's how much power that Domi has in this championship standing. He knows he doesn't have to get ahead of Blizzard. He knows he just has to be within that sort of 1 second distance. That's all he really needs to do. All these cross drives now will be coming out towards the end of the season, where he's just trying to calculate it in his head. Is it worth going for this move? Can I afford to just lose these 2, maybe 3 or 4 points? Because in the long run, I'll still have the massive gap there. He doesn't need to fight Blizzard for those positions until the end of the season. With 6 rounds to go, just let Blizzard handle the pressure. Just let him have that pressure on his shoulders. It's already got him a 3-second time penalty, so Domi right now is just doing what he needs to do right now. Just trying to get to the end of the race, and if he finishes ahead of Blizzard due to penalties, then that's an added bonus.
Yes, definitely. Of course, if the race did finish now, that would be the case, but there's still plenty of racing to go. I'll be very surprised if by the end of lap 27, so in 22 laps time, he's the only driver with a penalty at the moment. Aero's still in the lead of this race, and it does look as though Blizzard is now able to just stay a bit closer to Deso. About 9 tenths of a second. He's still not close enough to really challenge. He does still get the DRS, thankfully for him. It does look as though Blizzard's actually, he's either got a car that's a bit slow in the straight line, or Deso's got a very slippery Alfa Romeo at the moment. He pulled away about 2 tenths in that straight. Some of that would have been down to the slipstream that he's getting. Blizzard would have had only a minimal slipstream effect as Johan gets a bit of a drift on the Frenchman in the Ferrari coming through turn 4 then. But this might be interesting indeed. If Deso's got a fast car in a straight line, it could be challenging for Blizzard, if he gets close enough before the pit stops, to get an overtake done.
Yeah, there's Johan with a 3-second time penalty added to the end of his race. I think Sam Gamer was a little bit lucky there to get away with no penalty whatsoever. He missed turn 2 and ran off the track, but then didn't take to the left-hand side of the orange bollard. So I think he's definitely got away with that one, if not just a warning for him. But he's got to be careful about doing that too many times, because that is your surefire route to getting yourself a 3-second time penalty. And if they find these in-game stewards that you've taken too much of that and taken too much liberty, they can slap you with a 5-second penalty there and then if they think you've cut the track too much. And if they think you've cut the track to a point where you're doing it on purpose, they will absolutely give you that 10-second time penalty. They will not hesitate.
Yeah, that is really going to ruin your race at the moment. It's the bollard at the final corner has finally gone, so anyone who had lap 6 on their sweepstake for that, thankfully it doesn't do any damage to the front wing, as CRG Gamer now picking up a time penalty. I wonder if he's made a mistake somewhere, because he looks to have dropped off the back of this pack, and without any DRS, that's going to be pretty tricky indeed to try and recover.
Yeah, and he's going to find that really, really tricky now. I mean, Blizzard is just about staying in touch with Deso ahead of him for that DRS, but it is on that bubble. It's right on that borderline. Domi doesn't have to worry about that, neither does Dario. So Gamer's only hope, really, is that Blizzard falls out of DRS range, and then that sort of medium runner train happens, that where, you know, Gamer can try and find the gap and find the pace that he needs, where the other three drivers are held up by battling each other. But at the moment, it's not looking too great for CRG Gamer, but still, long way to go in this race. Just because he's out of DRS zone right now doesn't mean his race is over just yet. He gets a little bit of that clear air effect. His tyres won't be overheating. He will be able to take these corners at the speeds he likes to take them at. He's supposed to take them at. So, you know, 6 of one, 6 of the other, or 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. That's the actual phrase. So I don't think he's out of the running just yet. Maybe just trying something different.
Yeah, definitely. He might even be able to, as you said, stretch the tyres a lot longer, have fresher softs at the end, or he might go the complete opposite, pit a lap earlier than everyone else and get track position, because you can see already it's not the easiest circuit to pass on. I don't think we've really had any overtakes, unfortunately, since the first few corners, or since the DRS was activated anyway, when Aero took the lead. We're on to lap 8 of that race, and Aero, I'm not sure whether that was a very aggressive line he took through the final corner, or he nearly ended up skidding towards the pit wall, because he definitely veered over to the right quite severely. Blizzard picking up another 3-second time penalty. He is really struggling with the track limits at the moment. 6 seconds already after only 7 gaps. And Sam is staying in contact with Surface. We said his race, well, with Aero I should say. We've said his race pace has been a bit of an Achilles heel since he joined from F2 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. He's doing a very good job at the moment, and he's keeping it clean.
It's one of those baptisms of fire, isn't it? He's doing a fantastic job so far, and he's been in these positions where he's looking to try and take some strong points, but some strategy call or just a small mistake means the Canadian falls further back. So he'll be hoping here for a clean race just to try and get as many points as he possibly can in the middle of a huge championship fight where 2 drivers are going to be going tooth and nail at it. But yeah, doing well so far. And I think, just to answer your question there, Luke, I think Aero has been watching a little bit of IndyCar recently. That was a very aggressive line, right up and close and personal with the pit lane wall to try and break the slipstream to Sam Gamer. Unfortunately, all Sam Gamer has to do is move across, then take that little bit of air there. So although it means that that little bit of, you know, toe that Sam Gamer could get is compromised slightly, it's only for about half a second. So, well, he tried there, and it's worked so far. Let's see if anyone dives into the pits. Yes, Surface coming into the pit lane, and you have to commit very early. You have to commit before the penultimate corner into the pit lane, and if you run wide and rejoin the circuit, almost certainly you'll get that track limit penalty. Deso follows him in as well. So Surface and Deso first into the pit lane on the end of lap 8. Renault then should be putting on a set of medium tyres to match the livery, and on they go. Meanwhile, the Alfa Romeo team also put on a set of medium tyres for Deso. He leaves the pit lane and will go now to the end of the race. Long way to go, 19 laps on those tyres. Should be able to make it to the end.
Yes, and I think that's going to be the trigger for all the other soft runners to come in, and imagine at the end of this lap as well, we'll get to see how powerful the undercut is around this circuit, coming in a lap earlier, using your fresher tyres to just set the pace. Although sometimes it takes you a few corners to get used to having the different grip in the mediums. There might be fresh tyres, but they are a lot less grippy than the fresh set of the soft tyres that they've started this race on. Always got to change for the adapting conditions, adapting weather conditions. Your tyres are wearing, your fuel is running down as well. You've got to be careful around here and got to be concentrating at every single moment, because we've already seen from Johan, Blizzard and CRG Gamer, it is very easy to pick up a penalty. As we see Aero there locking up into turn 13, that says to me he's pushing pretty hard. Says to me he's probably coming into the pits to getting rid of those red-walled soft tyres. And it is nice that Surface's car sort of colour codes with the medium tyres. I think next year we'll have to see the Alpines on the wet tyres for that to be a thing. Aero and Sam Gamer coming into the pits, and Johan as well. So that is Blizzard now into the lead of the race on these medium tyres. I wonder now that he's not got DRS, whether we might see Domi try and have a go.
I think we will, you know. He's going to be in that slipstream. He's going to be closing and closing. It's a long, long time you've got that DRS for. You can see Blizzard just trying to make sure he's in the middle of the track, and I don't think Domi here will have enough to get down the inside of turn 2 there. But look at that. Less now than 0.3 of a second he is behind Blizzard as we make our way through that long turn 3, and going through there with a Haas is a majorly scary thing, especially with the tyres that went off on Grosjean couple of years ago in that Haas, but doesn't face Domi whatsoever as we now make our way in towards turn 5. You can see now his championship battle has now heated well up here. Dario just behind them, 0.7 of a second behind the Haas, with Gamer, as you see there, now 2.6 off the back of that train. So maybe struggling for a little bit of pace, maybe struggling a little bit with the tyre temperatures. Who knows what's going on in that cockpit? What we do know is that he's still there in 4th place and will be looking to go onto a set of soft tyres towards the end of the race. With everyone else behind them, Aero, Surface, Johan, Deso and Sam Gamer all do not have DRS. So none of them getting that straight line speed advantage that will help them try and catch the 4 ahead.
Now, did Sam Gamer have a minor bit of front wing damage that he decided to get rid of, or has he just had a really unlucky pit stop with his positioning in the pit lane? Because let's not forget, he was all over the back of Aero on the way into the pits. He's now down in 9th position behind his teammate, 2.6 seconds behind his teammate, so something has clearly happened in the pit stops to the Alfa Romeo driver. He was looking so good. He's just got to try and keep his head down now and not think too much about that. And apart from that, there wasn't really too many changes in the pit stop period. The undercut not working too much for Surface. He's still just over a second behind Aero, but because Sam Gamer's not in between them, he's not going to get the advantage of the DRS. Domi again closing into Blizzard, not able to go for the overtake. That just shows the pace at the moment. Surface, having done a hot lap on those medium tyres, fastest lap of the race, a 1:33 from here. A very good lap indeed, 1:33.9, just slightly faster than the original fastest lap that we saw earlier on the softs from Aero. And Aero currently 20 seconds behind Blizzard. You will expect that gap to come closing down all of a sudden. And this sort of spacing is good news for those that are on the old medium tyres at the moment, because they're not going to get caught in any DRS trains when they're trying to make their way through the field.
That's exactly right. So, you know, it's that 6 of one, half dozen of the other scenario, isn't it? I mean, you will have the DRS, but then you'll get the dirty air through the corners. So you've got to try and balance it out as much as you can. Domi gets a little bit of DRS as we make our way now down in towards turn 13, but again, he's not close enough to try and get past the Williams. And we've already alluded to, Luke, that this track is not easy to get an overtake done, and I think Domi's just trying to get away past Blizzard, but he can't, and a little bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 16 there means that he falls into the clutches ever further towards Dario in the McLaren as he now makes his way through the final corner. Lap 12 started by Blizzard as we make our way now on towards the start-finish straight once again. Gamer there still 3 seconds back from Dario, so he's still losing time to the front 3. Domi with the DRS wide open, looking to try and once again close in on Blizzard, but you know, he hasn't been as close to Blizzard as he was about 2-3 laps ago, so Domi might be struggling with those tyres, whereas Blizzard has clear air, so he's able to keep those tyre temperatures more in check than anybody else behind him. But that's not going to stop Domi from pushing as hard as he can.
Yes, that is a feature of F1 2020. Codemasters have made it slightly more realistic. They've improved the dirty air, which is great to see from one point of view. What it does mean is it is that bit tougher to stay close to the car in front, and quite often you do see these cars dropping about 5 or 6 tenths of a second behind, similar to the gap between Blizzard and Domi, and similar to the gap between Domi and Dario, just to try and keep their tyres in good condition, because you don't want to start sliding and overheating those tyres, because if they have to pit a lap earlier on the mediums, that will have a much bigger effect of having to do an extra lap on the soft tyres that they would not necessarily want to do. Surface just can't quite get within DRS range of Aero at the moment, and this could be the really interesting battle. If Surface can get within DRS range of Aero, neither of these have won a race this season, neither of these have got a penalty. They might both be driving for Shazoo, but they're in the racing point of the Renault. They'll be wanting to say, I won an AOR F1 race by the end of tonight.
Yeah, and that's an issue, isn't it? With between Air and Surface, I mean, one of them wants to win a race here today, one of them wants to win a race this season, and sometimes, if that comes to it, a teammate thing might go slightly out of the window. However, Domi trying to close in on Blizzard then as we make our way once again towards the first braking zone in towards turn 2, but again, Blizzard just seems to be extending his gap little by little, lap by lap, and it's just doing enough there that Domi doesn't have the advantage with the DRS that you would think he would have running down towards turn 2.
No, he's just not able to get close enough at the moment. Blizzard doing the right thing for the final sector, and I think it is the off-camber designs of some of the corners in that final sector just make it very tricky indeed to work your way through, to get close to a car in front, even to go for an overtake of the car in front. So, very difficult indeed. We'll have to see how Domi can do. And expect, not this lap, not next lap, lap 15 will be when we see the first pit stops. And it might be Domi or Dario thinking, right, I'm pulling the trigger now. I want to get out in this free air. I want to see where I come out on the field. Because at the moment, you'd imagine they'd be trying to aim behind Deso or maybe even just ahead of Deso for when they come out of the pits. Blizzard there locking up into turn 13, but it's not going to cost him. He's doing a very good job at the moment of just controlling the base at the lead. Unfortunately for him, he does have those 6 seconds of penalties. Dario, CRG Gamer, Johan and Sam Gamer all with 3 seconds at this moment in time. They're all staying out for now. They're just about to start lap 14 of this race. 14 laps remaining then. We're still none the wiser of who is going to win. Is it going to be this alternate strategy that is going to give it to Domi, or is it going to be one of the Shizou drivers, Aero and Surface? And still, there's definitely parts of the track where Surface has got within a second. He just can't do it at the DRS zones.
Absolutely, and you know that's a problem for Surface. If he can't draw into that 1 second gap, he won't have a chance of really trying to reel the driver ahead in. As Sam Gamer 33.9 sets the fast lap of the race, now moves between or within just about DRS zone. It wasn't that time around at the detection point, but he is in and around that bubble of his teammate to try and make a move and try and get that DRS zone. But we are halfway through this race so far. It is Blizzard who leads from Domi and Dario. Gamer then in 4th place. That's CRG Gamer in the Red Bull. All of them have yet to stop in this race. It's then Aero in 5th, Surface 6th, Johan in 7th, Deso 8th, and Sam Gamer running there in 9th place and last of the runners right now. I wonder for Gamer if he tries to, on his scheduled strategy, just try and pit in a lap earlier. I mean, he's got nothing to lose at the moment. 12 seconds behind him, and that gap is coming down because the drivers behind have fresher tyres. But he seems to be losing ground to the 3 cars ahead. Cut your losses. Come in a lap earlier than you intend to. Get on those soft tyres and see if the undercut works with a brand new set of soft tyres.
Yeah, I always say when you're in this sort of position, he's not in a championship. He's mathematically got a chance of winning the championship, but not realistically. Yeah, here we go. He is coming into the pits.
So there he goes then, trying to slow it down for that limiter line. I mean, you get the speed limit on the left-hand side, but then the line is further forward, so it almost tries to trick you there. But he does come in a lap earlier than he intended, I'm sure, to put on a fresh set of soft tyres. And if you listen to the commentary, CRG Gamer, you're welcome. He leaves the pit lane then on a fresh set of soft tyres and will make his way now down the pit lane. Now, obviously, the pit lane speed limit line is a bit early on in the pit lane, and he'll get the green light there. So he's going to rejoin in fresh air, clean air, to set a fast lap on the soft tyres. And instantly, as soon as he puts off that pit lane speed limit line, he's instantly into overtake mode with his ERS to get up to speed as quickly as possible. This has got to be a really good lap from Gamer to at least get him back into touching distance of the top 3.
Yeah, you'd imagine they're not too worried at the moment. 1 lap difference shouldn't be enough on these soft tyres to do an undercut, unless we do see a mistake from any of the top 3 drivers. But if they're leaving it until lap 16, you just might see something change. As Sam Gamer running very close to the wall there as he was coming through turns 5 and 6. He's currently up to 7th place. He did pass his teammate Deso on the last lap, so I do wonder if there was a bit of teamwork between the 2 drivers. And it's a bit of a slow burner at the moment, this race. You get a funny feeling, quite often we see this when drivers are on different strategies, that it will explode all of a sudden, and it might just be CRG Gamer coming into the pits in the Red Bull. It's going to be a bit like a red rag to a bull for this race. It just could make things liven up all of a sudden. It's getting very lively in the pit lane. Blizzard, Domi and Dario all coming into the pits. All will be putting the soft tyres on. All will be aiming to get towards the end of the race, obviously on those tyres. And that means Aero is back in the lead.
Yeah, so it's going to be fine actually, because Aero makes his way around the final corner. As we see Domi then leaving the pit lane again, he just gets ahead of Dario as they now make their way in towards that pit lane exit. Limiter line goes off. Now let's see where Gamer will rejoin. He set a purple sector 3. No surprise there because he's on a set of the soft tyres, but he'll rejoin at the back of them. Meanwhile then, Sam Gamer rejoins ahead of Dario as Dario has to fend off Deso going in towards turn 2. There's Sam Gamer caught off guard, and actually Blizzard there going around the outside of Johan going in towards turn 3. It's cost him a 3-second time penalty, but he's got the position there. So, I mean, that's going to hurt Blizzard towards the end of this race. Domi still no penalties whatsoever for the Haas driver as he now makes his way in towards turn 5. Now he's got to try and get past Johan, maybe as quickly as possible. Might not be so urgent anymore. However, he's got to maintain that touching distance within 9 seconds of Blizzard, and maybe within 6 if he's going to have a penalty later on down the line. He's going to go round the outside here in towards turn 10. He's going to be off the track there as the Ferrari doesn't leave him a lot of room, but he doesn't matter about that. Domi then gets the DRS and goes round the outside at turn 11, gets the move done. Dario, meanwhile, behind, will get the move on Sam Gamer then. I don't think Sam Gamer put up too much of a fight for the McLaren driver. Dario moves up into 6th place. Gamer, meanwhile, moves up ahead of Deso into 8th place. So this is where the pace of those soft tyre runners will really come into show with 12 laps to go. 11 and a bit if you're picky, and that is Johan who's around.
Yeah, Johan is around. I don't know if he's missing a tiny chunk of his front wing. Definitely not enough to come into the pits, but that's such a shame for Johan. And a bit like CRG Gamer earlier, he's now off the back of everyone as Sam Gamer picks up another penalty. We said the pit stops would be when all the action would start coming. With 11 laps to go, CRG Gamer, unsurprisingly, absolutely destroying the fastest lap of the race with a 1:32.4. He could be overtaking his namesake very shortly into turn 2. Bit of a tap on the back of Sam Gamer, who gets rid of that bollard, nearly loses it, rejoining the track onto turn 3, and that could have made things very interesting indeed. If he'd have hit the wall, we possibly would have seen a safety car then. He's able to hang on. He does drop down into 7th. But you can see the power of the undercut straight away. CRG Gamer, he was about 4 seconds behind the McLaren of Dario. He's now almost within a second again.
Yeah, the only problem now is that his laps or his tyres will be 1 lap older than those ahead of him on the soft tyres. So that's the only thing. Maybe towards the end of the race, he's going to have to be a little bit cautious on the tyre wear. However, for now, he's looking to just try and make up that lost time that he lost in the first stint. Blizzard, meanwhile, with some DRS, looking to get away past the surface. He goes around the outside at turn 12. He'll have the inside lane towards turn 13. Can he slow the car down? Yes, he can. Soft tyres making that look very easy to stop the car there. And now he's up into 2nd place. So really on a charge now is Blizzard. He knows those time penalties are going to be his enemy towards the end of the race. He's just hoping now that he can push as hard as he possibly can, set as many fast lap times as he possibly can. It's quali mode for him for the next 10 laps.
Yeah, he's just got to go for it now. Unless he sets the races of his life, he's going to struggle to finish ahead of Domi. He should. I imagine his target is to make sure that he gets 2nd place in this race at the end after penalties and try and make sure he finishes far enough ahead of aero and surface, but he does have 9 seconds of penalties at the moment, but he's caught up about a second in half a lap. These soft tyres are absolutely fantastic at this moment in time. CRG Gamer picks up another time penalty at the moment, so he's struggling ever so slightly. He's up to 6 seconds, as is Sam Gamer with Dario and Johan on 3 at this moment in time. Aero locks up there, coming through turn 5. Blizzard's getting closer and closer and closer, and you imagine for the 2nd lap in a row, it is going to be that 2nd DRS straight, and that is going to be where we see the Williams get an overtake done, hitting that curve a bit hard through turn 8 and 9. Gets away with it though. This is his opportunity now. DRS will be open on the back of that Williams. There it goes. Is Aero going to even bother to defend? He just sticks to the right-hand side. He knows when the game is up, and that is Blizzard into the lead of the race. And Domi, a carbon copy of what we've just seen from Blizzard. He works his way past surface. He's up into 3rd.
Yeah, nice move from Domi there as he now moves onto the podium positions. Of course, 0 penalties for him in this race so far. Same story goes for aero and surface, so all they have to do is just try and keep it clean to the end of the race. With Dario, Gamer and Gamer, well, funny that, all got 6 seconds worth of penalties. They're going to find it tough to hang on to those podium positions if they get them with the soft tyres that they are on. So here's watching that battle, but Blizzard does take the lead of the race then. 9 laps to go, and Blizzard leads at the Russian Grand Prix, albeit with 9 seconds worth of penalties that will be added at the end of his race.
Yeah, definitely. He's got to use those soft tyres now all of a sudden. We are seeing about 2 seconds a lap delta at the moment between the fresh softs and the worn mediums. That will be shortening every single lap. Probably in a couple of laps' time it'll be 1 second, and then by the end of the race there won't be too much tyre difference between them. So that means Dario and CRG Gamer might want to try and get a move on past some of these drivers to try and ensure that they're not in penalty range at the end of the race. We are on board then with Dario currently in 5th position. Currently, I think, hoping that he could try and close up within 3 seconds of Blizzard. Because if he does that at the moment, of course, he would manage to get ahead of him. Look how much more pace he's got on the brakes there again. Really see it in the braking zones. These soft tyres so much better than the mediums on surface up ahead. Davio's not got a lot of ERS. I don't think that it's going to make any bit of difference. He takes 4th position. Domi's going to go for a very late move on the brakes there into turn 13. Just can't quite get ahead of Aero. And that is great news for Blizzard, because you'd imagine the next point he can overtake is obviously on the next DRS zone. He's probably going to lose about half a tenth just in this final sector alone.
Yeah, but you've got to remember that 9 seconds worth of penalties are applied to Blizzard at the end of this race. He's now going to be about 3 seconds behind. He will have some DRS as well to help him get the move done on Aero in the racing point. In fact, there goes the ERS there in overtake. He might not even need it. DRS open now as we make our way through turn 1. So Domi now gets the position. Aero would tuck him behind to try and get a little bit of slipstream down towards turn 2. Now the gap is just under 3 seconds there. So this is all he needs to do now, Domi, is just keep that gap in a place where Blizzard will finish behind him after penalties. That's all Domi has to focus on, and he'll get win number 6 in this season.
Yeah, Cohen making the prediction that Domi's going to win this. Got to say, with 8 laps remaining, can't see a scenario, unless he makes a mistake anywhere, that stops him winning this race. He's looking very good at the moment with that 6 extra seconds in hand at the moment due to Blizzard's 9-second off penalties. Aero trying to stay in contact and just dropping back outside of DRS range, but again, Davio's going to have to close in pretty quickly indeed. Not got any ERS, so this might not be the straightforward pass into turn 12 and 13 that he'd be hoping. There goes the rear wing open on the McLaren. Aero's not bothering to defend too much with any electrical energy at the moment, and Davio is just going to have enough momentum then to get that position on. That is the McLaren up into 3rd place. He's gone very deep though on the brakes. Aero just can't quite get that cutback all of a sudden. And further back, CRG Gamers starting to close up to the back of surface, but maybe, just maybe, we're already starting to see the fact that he's pitted that lap earlier, that extra lap of wear on the soft tyres. He's not able to pierce his way through the field as easily as Davio was. He was about a second behind Davio not too long ago. The gap's now up to 2.6 seconds between the two.
Yeah, but he's now got DRS and a little bit of ERS deployment to try and get past surface for 5th place. He gets into the slipstream of the Renault, then will look to the right-hand side to get the move done. Down the inside, in towards turn 2 we go, and the Red Bull driver does get the position, but has to lock up the front right-hand tyre. The Renault driver might get a move back here. They're going to go side by side through turn 3, but the Renault wisely backs out of that one. He knows going round the outside there on a set of medium tyres is not a great idea. He's not going to have the grip there as Gamer lights up the rear tyres on the exit of turn 4 there for good measure. He's now up into 5th place, but he's again got 6 seconds worth of penalties. Surface does not. I wonder if Aero and Surface here are not too worried about fighting those on the soft tyres, because all of them, bar Domi, have got penalties. So the order will switch up and change up at the end of the race once the checker flag falls.
I think it's going to be very close actually at the end of the race between Aero and Blizzard. At the moment, Blizzard needs to finish 9 seconds ahead of Aero, who's just managed to keep in DRS range there of Davio. And the tyre advantage is changing all the time. In a few laps, the softs won't be much better than the mediums that we're seeing on Aero, on surface, on both of the Alfa Romeos, and on Johan. So Davio's going to find it very tricky, in my opinion, to get far enough ahead of Aero to finish in 3rd position. And maybe Blizzard just might as well. We'll have to wait and see how it goes into the final 6 laps of the race. And it is Blizzard leading on track, then Domi, Davio, Aero, Gamers, Surface, Sam Gamer, Dezo, and Johan, the 9 runners, all thankfully still in this race. And I'm sure there's still plenty of battling to go on as tyre conditions change, track temperature changes. We might see a few more penalties as well. That could really, really stir things up at this moment in time. Domi's looking pretty quick, but again, he just has to relax at this moment in time. He knows as long as he doesn't do anything stupid, he's probably going to end up taking the victory. CRG Gamer picks up another penalty, putting him up to 9 seconds.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Blizzard leading this race now, 9 seconds worth of penalties. Surface is 8.4 seconds behind. He's down in 6th place. So it's really on that bubble now. I mean, I think Blizzard will just be able to clear Surface if he gets some good laps in, but Blizzard on that last lap, 1.7 seconds off of his own personal best. So these tyres are starting to drop away, and it's getting to that point where the medium tyres are just about on the same level playing field, as the worn soft tyres. So expect these gaps to sort of stabilise now. 8.8 is the gap between Blizzard and Surface at the moment, so it's right on the bubble here. Of course, Surface, no penalties whatsoever. We've got a yellow flag. It looks like that's Johan there at the back of the grid, who's managed to make friends with the wall. And looks like, does he have any front wing damage? No, he doesn't, but he's had a moment there. I think that's on the exit of the double left-hander, so that's activity turns 8 and 9. So not great for him at all, but he does recover. He's currently running in 9th place.
Yeah, I think that was a very modern-day friendship with the wall. He's friends with it, but he managed to just keep his distance. And luckily for him, he hasn't damaged his front wing whatsoever. And I agree with what you say. I'd imagine Blizzard is going to finish ahead of Surface, assuming, of course, that neither of them gets a penalty. If Surface gets a penalty now, he's probably not got much chance of keeping in range of Blizzard, whereas if Blizzard gets a penalty, he's going to find it really hard to escape. And Aero, all of a sudden, he's picked up a time penalty. That could make things very interesting indeed, because he's now a net 1.2 seconds behind Aero and only about 0.6 seconds ahead of Dario. So if Dario's got any extra pace in those soft tyres, he has still got a chance of getting onto the podium.
Well, here's the thing though, Surface has a real chance of a podium here. If he can keep the car between those white lines at a good enough pace, he's got a chance of a podium considering all the penalties ahead of him. So he's not out of this one yet, and Dario picking up 9 seconds now. So another 3-second time penalty, that's at 9 seconds in total. So really all Surface has to do is keep between those white lines. He's got a good chance, a great chance of a podium. He's just about within the bubble, Aero there. 3 seconds of penalties for him, so Surface, it could be very close between the two of them for that last podium spot. However, 9.4 seconds behind Blizzard, it's going to be a very heated and almost really, really tough battle for third place, and neither of them are anywhere close to each other.
No, this is the interesting thing with the instant penalties, and of course now we can see what they've got easier, and the drivers can see the penalties of those around them. They've always been able to ask Jeff, but just a little bit of extra information makes it very interesting as well. And I think Dario, to be honest, he was very lucky to not retire from this race. He had a big moment coming out of turn 10, spinning up the rear tyres. Thankfully for him, he was able to carry on, but that's just going to keep his heart rate up a bit and keep his concentration going and maybe just wake him up at the moment. Can't afford to make too many mistakes. It would be very easy to find one of the concrete walls around this circuit. Further back towards the back of the field, Sam Gamer getting himself up into 7th place ahead of Dezo, but got to wonder, did he change his front wing in the pit stop? Because he definitely didn't look like he had a lot of damage. All I can imagine is he's either been held up or he damaged it on the back of Aero into the pits.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, or in any case, he could be going on to a set of soft tyres, because of course, now there's only, the handful of drivers left. Finishing in the top 10 will mean that you get a fastest lap bonus point. I think Johan here has given up on all sort of chances of a good result and is going for the fastest lap bonus point because he's got 2 points so long as he makes it to the end now. An extra point would go really, really good for the Frenchman. He needs those points as well to help Ferrari try and get some points on the board. It's been a tough season for Ferrari. It's been a tough season for Johan, having to be, the sole point scorer for Ferrari. It's a lot of pressure to put on his shoulders. But, I mean, he's still in this race and he wants that fastest lap bonus point, and he feels now, with these fresh tyres and a brand new front wing potentially, that this could be a chance to grab that extra point. They all go. Points mean prizes, of course they do.
Yes, and he's shown a lot of consistency. He's been in the points every race since the French Grand Prix. Every race that he's finished, he's managed to score points in. And it looks like he's going to be able to do that at the moment. He's on this fresh set of these soft tyres. He looks like he's setting the fastest lap at the moment. And he's got nothing to lose. If he ends up spinning the tyres by going too fast, he's not going to drop any positions. But maybe Dezo, if it wasn't for Sam Gamer's penalties, I reckon Dezo would be thinking the same thing here. So maybe we might see Sam Gamer think, you know what, I'm going to come in and put a fresh set of the soft tyres on, assuming that he's got any left from qualifying, of course. There's always that little caveat at the moment around this circuit. Further up, though, 2 and a bit laps to go. I think this shows that the soft tyres aren't as good as they once were, because Gamer's caught up to the back of Aero, but he's not been able to put him under any real pressure.
No, not at the moment, and it just shows you that there is that little bit of delta overlap between the soft and the medium tyres as Gamer lights up the rear tyres on the exit of turn 10 there. So it just shows you But he hasn't got a lot of grip left in those tyres, and of course he pitted in a lap earlier than the likes of Blizzard, of Domi and of Dario, so he's always going to struggle towards the end of this race to keep up. But he's right on the back of Aero now. Maybe with a little bit of DRS he'll be able to get ahead, but of course 6 seconds worth of penalties between Aero and Gamer in favour of Aero, so Gamer's always going to find it tough. He needs to make the move and then move 6 seconds clear of the racing point. Blizzard then starts the penultimate lap of this race, and just to give you an update, Surface is now 11.1 seconds behind Blizzard, and Blizzard now really teetering on the edge of that low fuel warning. I mean, he's right on the cusp now. You know, he'll be running on fumes towards the end of this race, but a sense that he might have to do some fuel saving in these last 2 laps.
Yeah, maybe just a tiny bit of lifting and coasting. It's normally something you see more at the start of the race, where obviously with the heavier fuel load, they're using up more fuel. You're having to accelerate, brake and steer. Around 50 kilos more fuel in a 50% race. In the full length race, it's about 100 kilograms of fuel in a Formula 1 car. So it makes sense that you'd see it at the start, and later on they might just get away with it. But we might see a bit of fuel saving here from Blizzard. You'll probably see the lights pop on once again on the main straight, well, on the back straights I should say. Oh, that's another car losing it through turn 10. They're definitely pushing on these soft tyres, and it's definitely showing that they're beginning to wear a bit at the rear.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just about keeping those tyres in check now towards the end of this race. I mean, they're almost 2 seconds off their best lap times in the race on these tyres. So it just shows you that they really are coming towards the end of their expendable life. So just making sure they hang on for one more lap here as Blizzard now makes his way through the final couple of corners. And of course, he'll cross the line leading this race for the final lap of this race. And of course, those penalties will come back to bite him in about 5 kilometers time. But Blizzard does start the final lap of this race in the lead. It's Domi in second, Dario in third with 9 seconds worth of penalties, Aero in fourth with 3 seconds, Gamer in fifth on 9 seconds, Surface in 6th place there as Sam Gamer then, the Canadian, picking up his 4th 3-second time penalty. That's 12 seconds in total. There goes Gamer then down the inside of Aero. He left that one late to go up the inside in towards turn 2. He's got the move done there at least, but now he's going to find 6 seconds in around 4 kilometers. It's just not humanly possible unless Aero makes a mistake. Surface then in 6th place, no penalties whatsoever. Sam Gamer 7th with 12 seconds. Deso, no penalties whatsoever. They're running in 8th place, and Johan there in 9th, trying to go for the fastest lap of the race. 6 seconds worth of penalties, and for Blizzard here, well, he needs to get 9 seconds up the road. At the moment, it looks like it's going to be good enough for at least a podium.
It's going to be good enough for at least a podium, like you said. Domi looks like he's going to be taking the win. Blizzard probably taking second, and Surface at the moment maybe just taking that 3rd position. It could all depend on how well the DRS helps Aero out here on the back of CRG Gamer. They're both running very low on EOS. Aero probably not close enough to go for a move. Even Daniel Ricciardo would think twice about diving one from that far back at this point in the race. All Aero knows he's got to do is have a nice clean run towards the checkered flag, and rounding the final couple of corners once again Blizzard. He's going to be the first driver to see the checkered flag here at the Russian Grand Prix. But is it another victory for Domi? And that is a huge step towards the Drivers' Championship for the Italian. Dario in 3rd place across the line. They're all donutting towards the checkered flag. Surface gets the final podium slots by 0.3 of a second from Aero, keeping it clean, proving to be oh so crucial for the Renault driver. Dario was 5th. CRG Gamer ends up 6th, Deso 7th, Sam Gamer is 8th, Johan, he tried to get the fastest lap of the race, it just didn't quite work, so that is going to be an extra point for Blizzard. But all of a sudden, as we have a look at the championship standings now, it is 69 points between Domi and Blizzard. That is a massive gap with 5 races remaining.
It is, and that's going to take a huge dig on Blizzard's morale as he heads in towards the final 5 races. Of course, we've got Japan coming up next, but we're focused now on the end of this race because it is Domi who picks up win number 6 for the season. The Italian ever extends his lead at the top of the standings. In-game driver of the day, well, that happens to be Blizzard then. 2nd place in this race, and of course with those penalties, but with a fastest lap bonus point, cutting the deficit from 7 points to 6, and that's a vital point he needed there. But another win for Domi, 6th win of the season, and he'll be very, very happy to extend his championship lead.
Yes, definitely. It's been a fantastic performance from him. When you think in the first 8 races of this season, he had 1 victory. In the 9 since then, He has now had 5 wins. He has really stepped up his form in this second part of the season. He takes the victory then. Blizzard, again, seeing the checkered flag first, but penalties costing him, and you wonder if now it might be a bit too late to try and stop Dommy winning that championship. A first podium of the second podium, I should say, sorry, of the season for Surface. His second in the last 3 races. Another driver who's really stepped up the form in the final few races. Aero just missing out after penalties. Dario, Gamer, Deso, Sam Gamer, after that pit stop, just didn't go to plan for him. Still came home in 8th, and Johan, the only man to do 2 pit stops. He had a few spins. He is the final finisher. And I think we sort of expected that from the Russian Grand Prix. We sort of expected this slow burning race, and then it all coming to a head at the end of the race once the penalties sorted themselves out, and once we had the drivers trying to come through the field on the soft tyres.
Yeah, and obviously we saw the soft tyres fall away towards the end of the race, but that sort of overlap between the 2 tyres never sort of happened at the end there. The soft tyres were always the better tyre in that race, especially at the second stint. However, it didn't stop these drivers putting on a show at least. And, Russia's always a difficult place to overtake on. That's always going to be the case with lots of medium speed corners. However, the penalties really did come into their own, and it really did shuffle up the order. And Dommy, who got no penalties whatsoever, is able to grab win number 6. Blizzard then finishing in 2nd place in that one. And yeah, 6 points lost, bringing that deficit now to 69 points with 5 races to go. Next time we head to Japan, Luke, and Japan, a much more traditional circuit, the only figure of 8 calendar, the only figure of 8 circuit on the calendar, and a classic way to really see where a championship could lie. The championship can't be decided at the next race, but it could be, a real hand for Dommy when we get there.
Yes, definitely. It's a track where you're probably not going to see as many penalties as you saw at Russia because, like you said, it's a much more traditional track. And that means at a lot of places, traditional track limits, you go off, you've not got a nice tarmac runoff area. Probably, compared to a lot of circuits, I can't think of many that have more gravel than Suzuka.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But there's more classic corners at Suzuka. I mean, you've got the 2 Degners, which are always going to catch you out. Heavy amounts of camber going into those ones, so you can carry a little bit more speed, but that doesn't mean it can't catch you out. And then, of course, you've got the legendary 130R. Maybe not so much of a challenge nowadays as the fast left-hander. You can go flat out through there, even on a heavy fuel load. But then you've still got the Casio triangle. You haven't got the bump down the hill towards the start-finish straight anymore to catch you out with the rear tyres there. But in any case, it's a great place to go racing. Again, limited overtaking opportunities, but it's bound to bring us action all the way through.
And again, it's another one of those races as well where traditionally the one-stop strategy is the best, but at Suzuka, there's always that chance of rain coming into the mix. We've seen many torrential rain there. I think one of the tracks, I think it was the first one to ever have all of its qualifying on a Sunday because of bad weather, and we've seen it so many times since. That can always make it very tricky, and because it's a punishing circuit, if you make a slight mistake at Suzuka, especially in the wet conditions, chances are you're not going to be able to save it.
No, absolutely right. And, the drivers are going to have to be on their toes in the last few races of this season. I mean, we head to some classic tracks as we head our way towards the closing of the season. With 5 rounds to go, looks like it's going to be a really close, well, I was going to say a close championship fight. But to be honest with you, the more Dommy just keeps on getting those good results in, getting those consistent results in, and just making sure that he finishes, within those couple of seconds of Blizzard, he's going to have this championship under control. The worst thing he could possibly do is go into a run of form where he doesn't finish races. That could be a real championship changer.
Yes, it's all going to be about consistency now for Dommy. We have got the man who finished second in that race, again crossing the line in first position, going for that alternate strategy. And you definitely showed you had some good pace today, Blizzard. It's just, again, picking up a few penalties in the early stages, you weren't able to extend that gap enough.
Yeah, the penalties at Russia were very harsh, so I was expecting to pick up penalties when I came into that race, given that I've picked up penalties on other tracks where it's not really that harsh, so...
Was it always the plan when you saw the attendance? Was it always the plan to not go on the dry tyres in qualifying and just to try and make sure you started on a fresh choice of tyres? Because as we saw from all you drivers who did that, the alternate strategy was very powerful.
Yeah, the alternate strat's always going to be best if you can start with the soft runners. And especially starting so close to the start of the front of the soft runners. It was like 5 positions or something. So it's very good, especially if you can hold in the DRS like I was able to with Dario and Domi.
Yeah, and actually, talking of like you were able to hold within Dario and Domi, and also on lap 1 you had quite a good lap with Deso as well, because you seem to be swapping positions pretty much for the entire first 8 or 9 corners.
Yeah, he was all over the place really, because he was lagging a lot on my screen, so I couldn't really tell where he was.
Well, luckily for you, there wasn't any contact. A great race from yourself once again. Kieran, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, after that race, we go to Japan next. I mean, it's a track where there's limited overtaking opportunities, but it's a much more flowing circuit. I mean, are you looking forward to heading to Suzuka?
Yeah, I like Japan quite a lot. I've done a league race recently around there as well,
So looking to get more points on the board. But I mean, with 5 races to go now, 69 points being the margin between you and Domi, it's getting tougher and tougher. So how do you keep your motivation going, especially this late on?
just don't really look at the championship gap. Just drive how you normally would, really.
So it hasn't helped that I've just told you that. But never mind. Well, I won't mention it again then. But, you know, coming into the last 5 races of the season, I mean, out of those 5 races, which is your favourite coming up?
Japan, probably. I don't like Mexico at all. Abu Dhabi, I've never really liked it. Brazil is meh. And USA, I don't like it either. So Japan's the only one I actually like.
Well, hopefully it treats you well then when we go there next week. But, I mean, that's all from me, Blizzard. Good luck next week, and we hope to see you at Japan.
Yes, definitely. Cheers to Blizzard there for coming into the podium interviews. And I think he's got the right attitude to have at the moment. He knows that if he focuses on the championship, it might be easy to get a bit downhearted with the size of the gap. Just take every race as it comes. Maybe pick up some more victories as the season goes, and just let what will be will be.
Yeah, knows exactly how to handle the media who's trying to constantly tell him, this is the points gap. No, I'm not interested. I'm just going to keep racing. That's a perfect answer to a questionable media question for sure. But when we head to Japan next time out, obviously the gap between the 2 championship rivals, 69 points. Again, it can't be won, the championship, at the next race, but it can certainly be all but over. Blizzard will be hoping that he turns up, puts in the performance he needs to, time after time. I mean, he's got the pace. He just needs to make sure that he relents with the penalties, because otherwise it's really going to be a short-lived championship heading into the final 5.
Yes, definitely is. And he'll be hoping that he can just keep the championship going that little bit longer towards the end of the season. And as Kieran just mentioned there are only 5 races remaining. Next time out, it will be round 18 of Season 20, the Japanese Grand Prix. If you've not seen enough, though, of the Sochi Autodrome, there are the PC and Xbox One tiers. Both of them are live right now, just coming towards the end of their qualifying session, and there's plenty more AOR action throughout the week as well, with the Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Championship just starting as well. Tier 1 and 2 from the PC leagues are live as well in the midweek. But for myself and Kieran, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to our sponsors here at AOR, High Energy, Elgato, who help deliver the streams, GT Omega and Thrustmaster as well. And we will see you next time around for more AOR action. Goodbye.